What's going on, everybody? It's Lance Hayes with Sports Social Live, and in this episode, I'm going to discuss the Texans versus Bengals 30-27 win, the road win, and the impact of that road win, bend but don't break mentality of the Texans, and the playoffs. Not with the big P or small P. What can happen to the Texans in the future? All that and more on this episode of Sports Social Live. So the Texans come into week 11 off a phenomenal victory over the Cincinatti Bengals, 30-27. It was a great game that showed grit, poise, composure, and the infrastructure that DeMeco Ryan has built for the team. We got to see our young star, CJ Stroud, perform a phenomenal bounce back after some adversity in the game. See our defense with some depth players run aggressively to the ball. They had the bounce back. They bend, but they didn't break. It was great to see the Texans this week and kind of use that swarm mentality as they went forward and played the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals were coming to this game in an upswing and momentum. They were playing at the home stadium. They had Jamar Chase. They truly have a 1-4 receivers. They were only missing T. Higgins out there. To see Joe Burrow work as hard as he did against our defensive line, it was a good thing for the Texans. A great thing for the Texans is that they were competing at a high level, which we truly have not done in a long time. It was great to see this. It reminded me of the days when we were in the playoff contention, we were balling out. It was just good to see that, and DeMeco was on the field at that time, so it was amazing to see. So I'm going to talk about a few things as it pertains to the victory. One of the key factors that I have is the road win and what that road win means for the Texans. Seeing the Texans go forward and win on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals, coming in to beat a top 5 QB with our team who was battered, tattered. We had 23 members who were on the injury report to start the week. Let that sink in. 23 members on the injury report to start the week. Just because they come off the injury report does not mean that they are healthy when they are activated for the game. So that's 23 members on a 53-man roster. It's around 43% that are bumped, bruised up, and not at 100% no matter what you say. To say we had those 23 men on that list is insane, to say the least. But to go into Cincinnati with that type of adversity and conquer it is amazing for the Texans. I like how we were able to get great gameplay out of players we just added. Matt Amendola kicking a game-winning field goal. You have some of the latter parts of the receiving corps getting 17-yard runs. Xavier Hutchinson. You have some of our offensive linemen out there. I like Michael Dieter. You got to give him his credit where credit is due because he's coming in. Although he's a vet, he's coming in and he is balling, and the center is truly a linchpin of the offensive line. And you saw him grinding and helping our running back, Devin Singletary, get those grind yards. You saw Tunsil and everybody running up, following up the linemen. And I just want to take a pause from my talking point to discuss the offensive line. Shout out to our offensive line for what they have been doing as they have conquered a lot of adversity in themselves. You have Laramie Tunsil, who's been on the IR pretty much every week, going out. He is earning his paycheck. You know, sometimes you get the prima donna effect with somebody like Laramie Tunsil, but to see him on the sideline after Stroud threw that pick, and you could tell he was looking at him like, hey, we got your back. To see Titus Howard, to see those guys, Michael Dieter, like I mentioned before, throwing motor forward. That's the type of gameplay that we need, and a cohesiveness that we need from the offensive line unit to be successful. And you see what it got us. It got us 150 yards from Devin Singletary. I almost called him Michael Singletary. It got us big run plays from Hutchinson, from Dell, and then Stroud even popped off 8 yards of rushing. You know, that you didn't really expect some of that stuff. We also were able to alleviate a lot of the pressures from the defensive line of the Cincinnati Bengals, and that good, solid, and aroma defense. That's the type of gameplay that you get, and that's what we needed to get that victory coming out of the Cincinnati. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm grateful for that win. I don't know why I said I'm grateful, but it's cool to see as a Texans fan who's been here since the beginning and been through the ups and downs. I'm used to seeing a QB getting slammed on his back, and I thought this was the type of year that we'll have, like one of those early the years previous 3 years, or back to those David Carr years where we just sucked. And I didn't think we would suck, but I thought it would be more of a rebuilding year, and we still are in a rebuilding year. It's just we were able to solidify the infrastructure a little bit more readily due to the leadership skills of our head coach and our quarterback. The composure is phenomenal. Moving forward, it goes into the bend but don't break mentality. I keep on speaking of this, and I've heard uh, D'Amico speak on this in the interviews and press conferences. The bend but don't break mentality was everywhere. You saw it on the offensive line when Laramie Tunsil gave up one of the sacks. I don't want to say gave up, but one of the sacks, it was a missed call somewhere on the line, and you see Laramie Tunsil turn around, then run over, dap up CJ, come back to the line, and then on the next play, when I say he was blocking his butt off, he was blocking his butt off. You saw that. You see that on the defense when Perryman gave up a couple of plays, but bouncing back and sticking his receiver. Nobody talks about the good stuff. People are down on Perryman and Petrie for getting burnt on a couple of plays. But look at who they're playing against. They're in the hardest position in the league to play is cornerback and DB. These guys are doing it at a high level against top receivers in the league, and they were doing great. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. For the receiving team at the Bengals is crazy. They have Hudson, Irwin, Boyd, Sample. They have a whole host of a receiving core that is actually good and can go to teams and start. So the bend but don't break effect of the defense is crazy. It was crazy good, and it was a great showing by our defensive core. Now. I have to discuss this, and I have to say I'm proud to even discuss this, but I don't want to even get started on it. Playoffs. I started off with a soft P, not a hard P, because I don't think it's a big P yet, but it is something to be discussed. Where do you see the Texans in the playoffs? Do you see them in there? I saw one post when somebody talking about where do you see the Texans? They had Super Bowl, one playoff win, but playoff wins, no first round exit, or not in the playoffs. And I'll tell you right now, I don't want to even talk about playoffs right now. I don't want to, but I will do it just for the sake of it. I see the Texans playoffs with a small P. I think that we have what it takes to make it into the playoffs, to go that 10-7, and make it into the playoffs. But I don't necessarily believe that we need to even be talking about it. What we have to do first is solidify this win against the Arizona Cardinals. This will show me a lot about the team. I want the Texans to come out and blow Arizona Cardinal out the water. You got to give Arizona credit because they're not a slouch team. They have the pieces that are coming back. Murray's coming back, and you see the money flowing towards Arizona if you watch the betting channels. So playoffs. Let's not talk about playoffs, but let's look at it. What's the potential? What's going on? In the AFC South, you have the Jags leading the charge. They just lost a game, and I think they have a good chance to win coming up next week. But they just had an off game. So what does it mean for us? So we have to first get through Arizona. Then we go back and we play the Jags at home. Can we pack out the stadium and get what the team needs to win at home? That's what we need to do. Worry about Arizona, then on to the Jags, and then we're taking care of the rest of the season. We got some tough games ahead of us, but I don't want to talk playoffs. I want to get this AFC South crown. Can we do it? Can we do it? The Jags are out front, but can we back them up? So tell me what you feel about the playoffs. Tell me, do you think the Texans deserve to even be in that discussion for the playoffs? How do you think the team's mentality is going into the week? What's your favorite highlight? All hosts of questions. I'm Lance Hayes, Sports Social Live. Subscribe, like, share, comment below, and let me know how you feel about that. This is my work edition of Sports Social Live. Until next time. Big, 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 big.